Okay, so this whole business started with the man named Ian because I saw that this section of the United States totally looked like a guy with a little belly and a mohawk to me. So, a man named Ian who had a mohawk, he walked around making us laugh. Logical? No, not necessarily, but it definitely helps me remember the abbreviations for the states themselves. So now let's take a look at how we can remember the capitals for this section of the United States. So here is our way to remember the state Minnesota, which Minnesota might possibly be a Native American word meaning sky tinted water or cloudy water. Hard to know for certain, but our reminder is MN is man for a man named Ian. In this one, we have the man who becomes a saint for St. Paul. Now, interesting story, the first Roman Catholic priest to ever serve in Minnesota was Father Lucien Gaultier, and he named the capital after he was from St. Peter, and he didn't obviously want to name it the same, so he named it St. Paul. And interestingly enough, Paul is someone who started out as a man and then became one of the apostles. Apparently he was greeted by this bright light on the road to Damascus, and it changed the way of his life, which was pretty cool. So the endangered species you may have trouble finding on this page, but the wings that I've given St. Paul are made up of a muscle called a Higgins eye pearly muscle, kind of like pearly gates, saint. Hope that works for you. And so if you want, you can think of this as the little St. Paul doll to remind you of Paul. If you think of doll, it sounds like Paul. And that is going to help us remember that the capital of Minnesota is St. Paul. Now we have Iowa. Iowa reminds us of the name Ian, what we named the man, so that IA reminds us of Ian and helps us with the abbreviation for the state. In this one, I want you to focus in on his pocket, because that's where he's going to put his name tag, because what's so important about the pocket is that there is a coin in his pocket. So you could say Ian is in Des Moines with a coin, or I've got a coin in Des Moines, because it rhymes. It'll help you remember. And this is a Plains pocket mouse that is our endangered species for this particular state. The word Iowa can possibly mean beautiful land or sleepy ones, and the word Des Moines can possibly mean monk, because there were monks along the river then. There's also a second story that's rather funny that I will let you guys look up on your own. All right, next up is Missouri. We remember Missouri, M-O, Mohawk, because the man on the map has a nice, big, beautiful mohawk. When you think about the Mohawk, I want you to imagine that a scroll pops up with the Declaration of Independence, a picture of Thomas Jefferson, because the capital is Jefferson City. And the animal that helps us remember is the least tern, which is the endangered species for the area. Now, the word Missouri either means river of big canoes or wooden canoe people, another Native American word. It's amazing how many Native American words we use to refer to the place where we live. It's sort of a just end that so many names come from the people who lived here way before we did and we took their land. Anyway, this is a picture drawn by Jade, who is Macaroon22 online. And I had to put this in here because you cannot think about Jefferson and Jefferson City, Missouri without somehow being reminded of the musical Hamilton and Jefferson's part. Hilarious. If you've not listened to it or seen it, I encourage you to do so. So, Jefferson City, Missouri. Here we have Arkansas. We remember Arkansas, AR, for the word around. And look what goes around. We have the green arrows moving in a circle, and there are rocks on the outside of them for Little Rock, Arkansas. And in the center there you see the ivory-billed woodpecker, who is our endangered species. Now, the word Arkansas is a Native American word that means wind people. And this area of our country is extraordinarily windy. There's a blogger online whose name Prairie Rambler. Amazing, amazing verbiage used to describe this area. The southern wind blows raging fires. They're whipped into tidal waves of flame, and the landscape is punctuated by bent and twisted trees. I thought that was fascinating. Now, the capital Little Rock, was named by Jean-Baptiste Bernard de la Harpe, who was a French explorer, trader, and officer in the military, and he saw these rocky outcroppings on the Arkansas River, and this area ended up being called Little Rock as a result. So Little Rock, Arkansas. All right, if you've ever been to Louisiana and wondered about the amazing French influence, well, I have a story for you. Originally, Louisiana, La Louisiane, was named for King Louis XIV of France. And then, in 1699, a French explorer, Pierre Le Moyne d'Iberville, visited the area and noticed that Native American tribes would mark their hunting boundaries with a particular red stick. It was a tree with the bark removed, and they would put like animal heads and things on top of the stick to let each other know that they would not cross those boundaries when they were hunting in order to keep the peace. And that name really stuck. Even the fort that was built there later also took on the name Bâton Rouge, which means red stick. And I have a red baton to remind us. And Louisiana, L.A., we think of Burke the turkey laughing, and so L.A., laugh, and Bâton Rouge, rouge meaning red in French, bâton meaning stick, so red stick, Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Okay, let's review on the small partial map. St. Paul, Minnesota, Des Moines, Iowa, Jefferson City, Missouri, Little Rock, Arkansas, and Baton Rouge, Louisiana. Let's review on the big map. St. Paul, Minnesota, Des Moines, Iowa, Jefferson City, Missouri, Little Rock, Arkansas, and Baton Rouge, Louisiana.